Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another issue of Hops Geek News, a podcast where we talk about comic books, TV shows, movies, and other random fun topics. I am one of your co hosts, MASH, and alongside me is the Hoppy Mommy.
Good morning. Oh, I got a little mixed up. We're actually recording part of this in the morning and part of this at night. So I'm
Yes,
very
so
refreshed and ready to talk and sober.
if you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice that we are in different attire than we will be in later on. And that's because I lost the first half of our recording, which was all the news, which actually turns out to be pretty good because we had a chance to watch WandaVision. There's some Godzilla King Kong news. And of course, we have some Cobra Kai we're talking about today, amongst other things. So without further ado, let's get to We're Not Experts. Half of us aren't
Ooh.
experts.
Yes,
Sometimes we're
this is
not
my segment.
experts. However,
Well, Rob was included a little bit on this though. So last week we had an amazing episode with Rob from Comics Explained. And if you don't know him, you should definitely follow him. He also has Pop Culture Explained. He even did a whole breakdown of WandaVision before the show came out and WandaVision on the first two episodes. So
yes.
we got into talking about the boys because I asked him what was the craziest show anybody's or comic anybody's ever asked him to break down, and he said the boys. And then we started talking about whether or not we think hero gasm will happen in the show. If you've read the book, then you know what I'm talking about, and it's basically like porn. And Eric, we both said, "Oh, we don't think that's going to happen. That's too much, even for Prime." But Eric Kripke apparently came out a few months ago and said hero gasm is happening in season 3. So don't you worry, you're gonna get your nice little porn fix on the boys. I mean, if you didn't think it couldn't get any more crazy.
As if, Anthony Starr at the end, Homelander jerking off above New York City wasn't enough. Well, now you're going to get up close
Or
and
love
personal.
sausage.
Yes, or a
Oh
love
yeah.
sausage. But I think that's about all we had. Yeah.
Yep.
Our last episode, we had Comics Explained. Rob is phenomenal. He does a really great job. So if you haven't checked out his YouTube page, I highly recommend doing that, especially if you're diving into WandaVision, because there's a lot to unpack from that show. And
Yeah.
we might talk about it later on. We'll see. But what have you read or watched this week, though, aside from the obvious WandaVision
And Cobra Kai.
and
Well,
Cobra Kai?
I finished up season 12 of Doctor Who.
Ooh.
And I watched the holiday special. And I just want to prep anybody. This is not a spoiler. Kind of is, but not really. Captain Jack shows up in season 12, which we've put that out there, and that's been in all their marketing. But the first time you see him in season 12, he does not meet the doctor. And I'm only telling that because I was disappointed that he didn't meet the doctor. So I'm prepping all of you to not be disappointed. He does meet companions, but not Jodie Whittaker herself. However, he
Yeah, I
does
think
meet her in the holiday
they
special.
marketed it that way, I think, to be like, hey, he's meeting the doctor for the first time. And then come to find out it's actually not
Yeah.
yet. So,
You wanted that reunion of like, him expecting Tennant or somebody else, and then she
right.
shows up and
Well,
yeah,
it
so
just
you were
adds to the
really like
suspense.
craving. Yeah, so it was still good, but you didn't get that full satisfaction that you wanted.
Yeah.
You wanted him embracing the doctor and being like, "Look at you." I mean, yeah. So, but you still do get some of that. Um so yeah, it was pretty good. I'm looking forward to what they're doing next season. I guess Jodie Whittaker said she's only doing one more and she's done. So we'll see what happens.
She's
And I'm
quitting.
also rewatching Supernatural because I have a problem. But that's about it. What are you doing? What have you read or watched? Oh, and I
I,
finished The Boys.
I started the history of swear words with our Lord and Savior Nicolas Cage. Yes, we are going to do an episode on Nicolas Cage. It's going to happen. I need it in my life. And obviously I rewatched Cobra Kai. My wife, she started watching it and I had already watched it. So I went through and she was like, I'm starting season 3. I can't start it without you. I'm like, ooh, I've already watched it at work, actually. Fun fact. So I rewatched
No, you
seasons one,
didn't. You
two,
didn't
and
do that at
3.
work.
Oh, I would never do
Did it
that.
on your own time.
Yeah, definitely my own time. And I rewatched Clone Wars a little bit. I've been bouncing around with that, get my Star Wars fix in. And then of course, WandaVision, which man, God, that
Oh, yeah, WandaVision.
we're in for a treat with Marvel, that's for
Yes,
sure. We are in for a
treat and a
treat.
half.
So, but that's really
Um,
it. I picked up. Oh no, I picked up Darth Vader issue 9. That run is really really good. I'm gonna spoil just a tiny bit. They mention Exegol, which is nails on a chalkboard because that's the planet in Rise of Skywalker. And if you haven't seen it yet, I won't go any further, even though it's been out for over a
oh.
year now. And oh god, they're trying to retcon it and plant the seeds early because this comic book takes place after Empire Strikes Back, and so it's just kind of annoying. But other than
But the
that, I
comics aren't
watched.
canon, right?
No, comics are canon. They're canon.
Oh, they are.
Oh
So
yeah,
the books
absolutely.
aren't canon then.
Nope. They got rid of all the EU books, and now like all the
Okay.
comics, everything written. There's books written in comic books ever since Disney took over. Those are all canon. So you have a ton of books, which is a lot of
Ah.
really good books. There's one in particular about clone soldiers in the Clone War that I highly recommend reading. I can't remember the name right now, but that one was really, really good. And their books are good. Their comics are really great. And aside from that, I picked up Justice League Future State issue 1, and yeah, that was a pretty decent comic. So that's kind of all I've read.
Yeah, I briefly mentioned at the end, I forgot. I did finish The Boys, the 5 omnibus and the 6th one, so I'm completely done. They did bring it back in an issue called Dear Becky, so I've been getting those comics. I'll start reading
Yeah.
that. Um, but when I went to go order the 4, 5, and 6 omnibus, like the guy at the comic shop, he's like, "Oh, are you definitely gonna want them?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, a lot of people will start like when a new show comes out, they'll start it and then they stop watching it." And I was like, "Well, I'm really enjoying this, and I'm very much so looking forward to the next season, so I definitely want to read these." And honestly, I felt like they got better. So if anybody started The Boys and then kind of given up or felt like it wasn't their cup of, I mean, if you feel like it's not your cup of tea, I understand, then step away. But you probably don't want to
Yeah.
watch the show either. But the last volume did not see that coming, and I can now tell, like, there's a part where Rob asked last week if I had finished them, and when I said no, he did one of those kind of like, oh, like I have to try to control myself from saying what I
Right.
want to say. But lots of twists and turns, did not see it coming. Don't see how they could do one of these big things on the TV, so it'll be interesting to see how they twisted on the TV. But there were a few nods to Wolverine and to Spidey that, Butcher, I think, says on more than one occasion something about cunt sense tingling and stuff. And then there was a straight up reference to Wolverine where like there was an actual animal Wolverine that like attacks somebody, and this guy's like, "What do you mean he's the best at what he does? Did you seriously just say that?" So it was like straight, because Wolverine's catchphrase is, "I'm the best at what I do, but what I do best isn't very nice." And there was a lot of Anchor Steam. That's MM's favorite beer, so I do love the
Nice.
nods to those things. Awesome comic, highly recommend it. There's 6 omnibuses, and yeah, so go to your local comic book shop and have that
Pick it
original
up.
6. Pick it up.
Pick it up. And tell them we
And
told
that's
you,
about it.
even though they have no idea who we are. But yeah.
Yeah. Tell them Hops Geek News
Tell them
sent
Hops
you.
Geek News sent you, and they'll be like, "Who the hell is that? I don't care. Just buy this comic book."
And if you're in East Orlando, go to Epic Comics right on Alafaya. They are awesome and I love them.
Yeah. Shout
And
out.
one of the guys that works there even brews beer, and I've run into him at a beer fest. So I mean, you don't get much more awesome than that.
Yeah.
So we
Shout
shall
out
move
Captain
on.
Comics, my comic book store, for shouting out comic books. And you know who else brews beer? I brew beer.
Hmm.
I can't guarantee it's going to come
Who
out
brews
great,
the
but
beer?
I'm
Mash
bottling
brews
beer right
beer.
after this, so we'll see how that turns out. And
Mash did the mash.
breaking news,
That
leading
was
into
really
our
bad.
breaking news, Mash brews
Doo-doo-doo.
beer, but we don't know if it's really good. But onto some
Only
really
time will
great
tell.
news. Godzilla versus King Kong was originally supposed to come out on HBO Max in May. Well, surprise everybody, it's coming out March 26th now. I love Godzilla. I love Godzilla so much. I am so excited for this.
Well, good.
Godzilla.
I'm happy for you.
And yeah, I'm excited. That's like the week after. So we're supposed to get in Zack Snyder's Justice League March 21st, and then we're getting Godzilla King
Mm.
Kong March 26th. That's gonna be the best week ever. Not really, unless if the Packers win the Super Bowl, that's the best week ever because I'm gonna be in Las Vegas for that. But yes, speaking of Zack Snyder's Justice League, Harry Lennox, he played the general in Man of Steel. It's always been a long like, hey, I'm pretty sure he's Martian Manhunter. It's always been rumored. Well, he confirmed that he is in fact Martian Manhunter in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So that's gonna be pretty exciting because that's the first time you're ever really getting him on the big screen. I don't count Supergirl because I just didn't like that show. And but so
Not
it's
many
it's not
did.
the first time Martian Manhunter in live action, but it's finally up on the big screen. So I'm excited. I thoroughly enjoyed Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, all that stuff. So I'm excited to see what Zack Snyder's Justice League is like. And if it sucks, then there's going to be a lot of really pissed off, sad people, and the world might actually explode. But it can't get any worse than what we currently have now. Moving on, a secret actor is scheduled to show up in WandaVision. Don't know who that is. I have some theories, which we aren't going to talk about right now, but
I
that's
was
kind
going
of
to
what
say, I
they
think I
said.
know who it might be. Although my theory
Yeah.
might have come from you. So I'll
maybe.
keep my comments to myself.
Yeah. So they said a secret actor is going to be showing up. I'm pretty excited for that. All the Disney Plus shows are going to be 6 episodes, all ranging from 30 to 55 minutes. Kevin Feige confirmed that. And so that's pretty exciting. And speaking of, I think I might be taking this piece of news, but comicbook.com has reported that Daredevil, Charlie Cox
Yep,
has
I'm literally typing that into there.
finished
Yes.
has finished his scenes for Spider-Man 3. Now take that with a massive grain of salt because who knows if that's actually true,
Right.
but that'd
Well,
be really
didn't he
exciting.
say? Didn't he come out and say?
I don't. There's been so many people saying that this person's in Spider-Man. Everyone's in Spider-Man 3. Everybody get in here. It's
Not
Avengers
Uncle Ben.
3.5. Well, you never know. They could have a flashback to Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Don't count him out.
I'm like, he's the one comic book character that stays dead and or dies and stays dead.
Flashback.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Damn it. I really
Um,
hope they don't because now that joke's not as funny.
it won't. But the rumor
But yeah, I'm
is,
wondering if he'll be his lawyer.
oh, I don't know. That's because where we left off, Spider-Man's identity was out. So I think that would be really great.
He needs a lawyer.
He needs a lawyer. What better way to introduce Daredevil into the MCU than this is? It's perfectly set up. They set it up perfectly.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be really disappointed if that's not what it is. Jessica Jones is rumored to show up in She-Hulk, so that'll be pretty exciting. She's another lawyer. She-Hulk is, and then last but not least, lots of Guardians of the Galaxy cast members, with the exception of Gamora, have shown up in Sydney, Australia for the filming of Thor: Love and Thunder. It's gonna be another man. We
That's
got
not really too much of a
ensemble movie.
surprise since he
No,
left
we
with
knew it.
them.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
just really want like an 80s montage of Star-Lord and Thor on the Bowflex in the Milano. Like we deserve that scene, and then all of a sudden he's jacked again and he's bigger
No,
than
what
Star-Lord.
we should get is it's a montage of just Star Lord working on the Bowflex, and then he's like working out really hard, and
And Thor
then
barely
like
breaks
Thor
a
just
sweat.
like walks in there, and they all kind of look at him like, "What is going on?" And Thor just like picks up the Bowflex with like, one hand and all that, and yeah, I it'd be cheesy, yeah, but
Oh,
I love
but
having
they
some
do a lot
cheesy
of cheese in
moments.
those movies.
I like cheese.
Yeah, what Thor has turned into is more of like what Guardians of the Galaxy started out as. So it's like if we're gonna
Right,
get any cheese, it's gonna be from those two.
for sure.
And I love them together.
I
I
do
love them
too.
on screen together. They're hilarious.
Chris Hemsworth is just great. He's great like as a comedic character, and also like
Mhm.
he has some range. He does really good serious. So I'm excited to see more of what we got from Ragnarok out of him.
Yeah, when he said that Thor has become more like he is in real life. So the character's kind of, it used to
Nice.
be, I feel like the first one, he was more serious. I mean, there were some funny moments like him getting tased and stuff, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
such a
That's a
different
dude I'd drink a
character than
beer
the one
with
we get
right there.
now.
Chris Hemsworth. I'd have a beer with that guy right there. He seems really
Oh,
cool.
hell yeah.
Seems cool as
Yes,
shit. And he's beautiful.
he is gorgeous. But I'm loving that they're introducing the Netflix characters. So I'm wondering if
Same.
maybe one day we'll see some of the Shield characters. I was always disappointed we didn't get a Coulson
Well,
Iron Man reunion.
we might
Well, I
WandaVision.
don't know if we'll get Coulson and Iron Man though,
Well,
but
no,
but
Coulson's
it
dead.
would be
Iron Man's
nice
dead.
because those characters were always connected. Like I don't care as much about Runaways or Cloak and Dagger or anything like that, but I
No.
felt like Shield deserved to have more crossovers, more recognition that they were out there saving the world too.
Yeah, no, I agree. That would at least give him something more than just seeing Maria Hill and Nick Fury, that kind of stuff. Because
Right.
Shield is a lot more than just those guys.
And Sky is awesome. Daisy Johnson. I
Hmm.
mean, she's awesome and she's got a great backstory from the comics and on the show. So, all right. So, my news, real quick. So, if you're here to listen about Cobra Kai, Hot Topic has all your Cobra Kai merch. Marvel Legends has come out. If you haven't watched WandaVision, or even if you have, they're like 6 minutes each, and they kind of just give you. It's on Disney Plus. It's a quick little show, and they just give you background info real quick on Wanda and then on Vision. So if you haven't watched everything, but you really want to watch WandaVision, or if you just have a hard time keeping up because there's so much, they just kind of catch you up real quick. And I really wish Disney Plus would do that for Star Wars. I know I've said it before, but that would be amazing for
Yeah,
me
they probably
because
should. There's a lot. There's a lot. That's why, yeah, we
there's
need.
so much more with
There's a
Star
lot.
Wars. And it's not none of it's in order too. So it's like the only movies you have out of order for the MCU is just Cap and then both Caps,
Yeah.
Captain Marvel and Captain America. But
Yep.
oh, whatever. So Black Lightning will have its last season in 2021. It starts February 9th, but it is getting a spin-off with Painkiller.
Ooh.
Batwoman should have started by now on January 18th, and you can watch all those shows on the CW the next day. Superman and Lois, same thing, February 23rd, also on the CW. Keaton and Affleck have both confirmed they are in for the Flash, and Ray Fisher's Cyborg is definitely
Oh
not.
my
He is
gosh.
being written out. I know we
And
mentioned it last
Ray
week, but I don't know if it
Fisher
was
has
confirmed.
confirmed it, actually. He has fully confirmed it. And I'm not even going to get into everything with those guys. Just go read up on Ray Fisher. It's exhausting at this point, and it's exhausting. That's all I got to say about that one.
So Amazon is doing the Lord of the Rings show. I know that info's been out for a minute, but they've confirmed that it's going to take place 3,000 years before the first movie, and this is apparently called the Third Age. So the show
Yeah.
is in the works. Mando is officially the most streamed show and somehow passed The Office. That kind of surprised me because I feel like The Office people would just keep rewatching.
People do.
I don't know.
They do. But there's a weird love for The Office that I personally have never gotten into. I've
See,
I've tried
I
so many
watched it
times.
live.
I've tried so many times to
Yeah.
get into it. I just can't get into it.
No, it's a good show, but you got to fall in love with the characters to really appreciate the comedy behind it. But I mean, I watched it live. I mean, I haven't really watched it in years. I started to watch it with my husband, and he falls asleep in shows, so then I lose interest. And it's like,
Me
well, I've
too.
already seen all these. Um, but but no, The Office is really good, and it gets better. And like Steve Carell is just hilarious, and to see
He
him with
is, yeah.
John Krasinski, and yeah, and they spawned some great actors from that show. But okay, so moving along, the movie Jazz, they're doing I'm sorry, Soul. They're doing a jazz show at Epcot, coming to America. It's coming to America, so that'll be fun.
Ooh.
New thing at
That
Epcot
was
if
a
you
good
live in
movie.
Orlando.
Great movie.
It was a good movie. And then my last two pieces of news are one, Clerks 3 is in the works. Kevin Smith has
Snookin'.
started writing Clerks 3.
Oh, God, I love Kevin Smith. Love Kevin Smith.
Think we'll get more necrophilia.
I hope. I hope we get more of what was that? Something Betty with the donkey.
I need to rewatch some of
I
those
gotta
movies. We are going
rewatch
to do a
them too.
Kevin Smith episode one
We
day.
are,
Yeah, I need to like
yes.
rewatch Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and all that stuff. Now my last piece of news, I'm sure everybody has heard this by now, but like I was actually at Hollywood Studios when I saw this news and I like
Ooh.
screamed, and I was with my cousin and then she screamed. Deadpool 3 has been confirmed to be part of the MCU.
Yes, yes, yes.
I just love it. They could have so much fun with that, and I can't
yes,
wait to see what they do with it.
There's so many opportunities, and you don't even have to have him fully. You don't have to come up with anything complicated because he can just show up and be like, "I'm here. Deal with it."
Right. Ooh, Fox, let me come over here. This is so nice. We don't have this at Fox. I mean, he could do anything.
There's so much more room for activities over here. So yeah, I can't wait for that's one of that was like the only one that we were kind of on the fence. We couldn't remember. They never really confirmed that he was going to be in, going to be out, and now it's confirmed because Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. He's 100% that character. 100%.
Yeah, and I trust him that he will make sure the character is treated properly, because I mean he did with the first. Like I read something recently that said Ryan Reynolds like paid money out of his own pocket to wear a Golden Girls shirt in the first movie. So I mean that's how much he cares about the show.
Yeah,
and I've heard he's even paid out of his own pocket to the extras or to the crew or something like that. I don't remember exactly.
He like all but financed the first movie, and then that whole like 10-minute, 5-minute clip or whatever we got a long time ago before the movie was even confirmed, that was like his doing as well. He tried so hard to get this movie made, and I'm happy. I'm so happy because he's great at it. And anyways, we are going to be joined by our good friend Robbie, my good friend, one of my oldest friends, Robbie, and we're going to talk about Cobra Kai. So we'll catch you in just a second. Anyways, we are on to Cobra Kai. The reason we're all here tonight, we are going to kind of briefly recap a little bit of seasons 1 and 2 and talk a little bit about the behind the scenes, and then probably really mainly talk about season 3 since it's so fresh in our minds. So Lauren, what did you have? I know you have some tidbits written down here about the behind the scenes action. What do you got? Cobra Kai, baby.
I did. Okay, so Cobra Kai started on YouTube years ago in May 2018. YouTube was doing well, so they decided to change things up, and season 3 wasn't doing well, I'm sorry, and decided to change things up, and season 3 got kind of left in limbo. So they asked if they could get basically other streaming networks to kind of release it. And so season 3 had been finished for a while, but they weren't able to actually release it yet. And it all worked out well because it ended up on Netflix. I should have rewritten that. That came out terrible. So it did tremendously well though on Netflix, and season 4 is happening, but
Yeah,
it has not even begun filming yet. So a
there
lot
was
of people
like
like, because I remember watching it in June 2018, like the first few episodes, like nobody else had seen it, and then the second it came on Netflix, it just blew up.
there's like 73 million people who have watched it so far on Netflix alone, which is insane.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
like 41 million people have seen season 3, and it's like 73 million people have seen the entire series. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I
yeah,
remember when it came out on, I think it was YouTube Red.
It
I think
was. It
that was
doesn't even
the
exist anymore.
platform. And I was just like,
yeah.
that's a great idea. I would love to watch that. But I didn't want to sign up. Like, for some reason, I was that lazy. I was like, maybe in another time.
Because we have enough
And
streaming
obviously,
Right.
I
sites.
messed up. Like, I made a huge mistake. This was,
No, we didn't. It worked out well because we didn't have to pay for another streaming platform.
that's
Like I
true.
watched the first like 4 episodes at my brother-in-law's. We were staying with him for a few days, and he's like, "Oh, Cobra Kai's on here. It's amazing. You got to watch it." And so we got into it. But then by the time we got home, like a week later, like it was long gone and forgotten about, and we weren't going to sign up for another streaming platform.
For sure.
So it yeah, it worked out well for all of us. But the Cobra Kai creators, because my first thought was, did How I Met Your Mother bring these guys back together?
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
that was like everybody's first thought. Was it that have an influence?
it didn't have a direct influence, but it did help. Like little things like that kind of kept Karate Kid relevant and fresh in everyone's minds. Cause I mean, I didn't realize how old this movie was. Like this movie, I'm the oldest
84?
one on here, and this movie came out when I was 1. Yeah, it came out in 80. Well, he was the all-state champion of 84 or whatever. So yeah,
Right.
that's pretty old.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty old. So Ralph Macchio was insistent that Miyagi be relevant in the show. This was not his first pitch to actually reprise the role. So for him to bring it back, he was very adamant about that. William Zabka broke one of his toes filming their very first fight scene. He was able to pull it back out and he got back into the fight scene, but welcome back to karate, I guess. The first episode of Cobra Kai actually has unseen footage from the movie, so that's
Ooh.
kind of cool. The car that Miyagi gave Daniel, Ralph actually owns, and it was his suggestion that the cars show up in the show. So it's actually the original car. The studio gifted it to him.
Nice.
Robbie's real life mom, Robbie, is Johnny Lawrence's son, is actually a black belt. So she was very excited that he got the role. So Tommy, Rob Garrison, was actually in Iron Eagle, which is the movie Johnny said was his favorite movie. I think it was when he was doing that dating profile.
Mhm.
Sadly, Tommy actually did pass away in real life shortly after his character did. Oh, I hope whoever's listening to this has seen Cobra Kai.
Oh yeah, you gotta at this point, Cobra Kai.
Leave now.
Seasons 1, 2, and 3. You should probably leave.
Yeah. So after shortly after the character actually died on the show, he did. And there is an episode dedicated to him. There were actually talks of him coming back for season 3 flashbacks. So I'm guessing that they didn't know he was sick. It seemed like it was a pure coincidence that he was sick on the show and then passed away in real life.
It was really sad how it all happened too, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, that was really sad.
Oh, on the in the show and in real life.
Yeah,
in
the way
real
it happened
life,
in the show is depressing as fuck.
Yeah. Well, in real life, he was in the hospital for a month prior. I guess he had kidney and liver failure, and he was only 59, so he was still pretty young. Okay, so the movies. There are more movies, I think, than people realize. So you have Karate Kid. The first one came out in 1984, which is basically season 1 is completely premised on that. And then you start to see the other movies. Karate Kid 2 was 86. Karate Kid 3 was 89. And then the next Karate Kid does not have Daniel. So that's Hilary Swank, but it is Miyagi.
Zero idea that they actually made that one.
I think it was a Disney Channel movie, if I remember correctly.
No, I thought it was a legit movie. I saw that movie in the 90s.
Maybe I saw it on
Hilary
Disney
Swank's
Channel
a big
then.
name.
She was, but I
She
remember.
is, but she
I
wasn't
think I
at that
remember
point.
it on Disney Channel, but I remember her name, Hilary Swank. I'm like, oh,
I'll
it's
have to
Hilary
look that
Swank.
up because I thought it was a legit movie in the theater.
Well, the
I
next
could
one
be
we've
wrong. I mean, it was a
all
long time
wished
ago.
we forgot about. So
I never saw the next one. The next
I
one is
didn't either.
Karate Kid in 2010 with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan.
Nobody
I don't
saw
think
it.
that's not canon for this.
No,
for
no,
Cobra
no.
Kai.
It's definitely
No,
not.
I don't think
that was
so.
their attempt at a reboot, and it didn't work.
But the interesting thing is you really don't need to see the movies at all to enjoy the show. They do a really good job of the flashbacks and tying you in, and you never feel confused. Right. I mean, you never even feel like, wait, who's this guy? Because they quickly show you. So that's actually really, I mean, I haven't seen the Karate Kid in years. Although I do want to go back and watch it.
It's been a long time since I've seen Karate Kid myself.
Yeah, so those are all my behind the scenes fun facts.
Well, let's get to the show. So we'll talk, seasons 1, seasons 2. Season 1, I'll go into it it kind of opens up. You see Johnny Lawrence, he's working a dead end job. He gets fired and he meets Miguel, who is, hey, teach me how you did that, because Johnny saved Miguel's ass outside of a dead end,
Like a
stupid
convenience store.
the convenience store.
He was
While he's
getting
eating
his
a
ass
pizza.
They probably
and-
sold 40s in there.
Yeah,
There were
they
definitely
sell-
40s
There were
in there.
definitely 40s. He had a piece of pizza that the clerk was handling with his bare hands. Of course, no, homeless lady out front.
I
Of
know.
course
And then
there's
they
a
tried to make
40.
Johnny seem like he was being a jerk. Like, that's gross. And I mean,
is
I know we're
disgusting.
watching this in quarantine, but still.
It was
We
disgusting.
still have standards.
Yeah, and
Right.
so season 1, he refines Cobra Kai, and they obviously. Then you have Daniel LaRusso's daughter is part of the group that hits Johnny's car. He takes it in. Oh, there it gets towed, and towed to none other than the LaRusso car company.
What are the odds?
Yes, Daniel
Crazy.
LaRusso owns a car dealership, multiple actually. And so that's kind of how they reignite each other, and they each respectively get back into karate. Johnny Lawrence has a son who he's very estranged from, who ends up training with Daniel LaRusso at Miyagi-Do. And it calls
But he doesn't know at first.
doesn't know at first. No. He doesn't know at first. Of course, you find out, and it all comes to a head where Miguel faces off against Robbie at the All
Did
Valley
not see that
tournament.
coming.
And Miguel wins. Cobra Kai wins the tournament, and you kind of
Oh,
leave like nobody's the winner in this. And we got a couple questions from people we'll get to in a couple minutes. And this leads us to season 2 real quick, where season 2 kind of picks up where season 1 left off. Danny and Johnny are hating each other. Now more and more people are joining the respective karate dojos. It's a war, but I forgot the most important
friends
piece.
are becoming enemies.
Kreese shows up at the end of
What?
season 1. Kreese is back. His
No.
John
old ass is
Kreese.
back. And he's like,
I find
"Hey,
that interesting
Johnny."
that they named them both John. Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting?
And Kreese is 70. First of all, Kreese is 75 years old. I looked it up. His old ass ain't fighting nobody in karate. Okay.
He looks good for
So,
75,
He
though.
does
I
look
mean,
good
even
for
if he can
75,
just.
but
It looks like
Fake
he's had some
punch.
work.
that
done.
man ain't beating anybody in karate. Let's be honest. Unless you got the old man strength. You never know.
I did talk to my husband about that because my husband's done Kempo, which I guess is a form of. He explained it to me a while ago. He's
It
like,
is.
okay, you
It's-
have this
yeah.
all under here and da 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 da. And I'm like, well, are any of these fights somewhat realistic? Because it's like when I watch a movie that has to do with anything courtroom, because I'm an attorney, I'm like, bullshit.
I do the
bullshit,
same with
bullshit.
military ones.
Mistrial, exactly. So it's when you have that other the actual realistic view from it. And he goes, no, they'd definitely be getting hit. You're not dodging punches that much. He's like, the only time he said he's ever seen a legit fight that looked like that was when he was in like Thailand and 2 Israeli like soldiers were fighting each other. And he's like, that's the only time I've seen anything remotely like that. He's like, usually like you're definitely getting punched in the head. You're definitely
Oh,
getting
yeah. You're taking
you know,
hits, and you're also not just taking kicks
Yeah.
to the face like a champ either. I'm not.
right.
I'm
You're
6'4".
getting disoriented. Yeah.
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 No.
It's
So,
That's funny you said. I also did Kempo, so
yeah, this
Oh,
isn't.
so then you
this
probably
isn't
know.
accurate.
we're
at
karate
all.
masters.
I did
I'm
nothing,
not a
but I
master.
do have
Our
a
very own
plastic
karate
side.
master on the show tonight.
Perfect.
Don't
Anyways,
take me up on that, folks.
season 2, you see Kreese and Johnny kind of working together again, but not really, because Kreese was an abusive
Because
asshole.
Kreese has changed.
He's changed, but really not
He's a better
changed at
man
all.
now.
And he kind of corrupts a lot of the students. And I'm breezing through this really quick. It
No, that's good. Yeah,
culminates.
wrap it up.
It culminates in a unrealistic high school fight at the end, because everybody in high school is doing karate now in the year 2019 or whenever this one
Everybody
came
was a
out.
kung fu. How
And
did they not
There's-
play that
There's a
song?
giant brawl. There's a giant
opportunity.
brawl in the school, and Miguel he shows mercy because Johnny was like, you need to show mercy. We're all about mercy. We've changed. And Kreese is like, no mercy. Well, Miguel shows mercy, and Robbie kicks him off the fucking second story, and he breaks his back.
Yeah, Robbies are no
Meanwhile,
good.
the whole time Miguel in the first
Rappies
season,
are no good.
no, and Miguel was dating Sam LaRusso, Daniel LaRusso's daughter. The first season they broke up. The second season she starts to date Robbie. It's a soap opera. It's basically a soap opera.
Oh, it's a soap
Oh, it
opera
is.
for boys.
100%.
100%.
And so
I
Sam,
think it's like sort of like Degrassi. Like half the
It
show is
is.
Degrassi, and then the other
Yeah.
half is
I
like
love Degrassi.
kitschy fighting.
So I haven't
karate
seen
show.
Degrassi, but I
What?
watched.
Oh, Degrassi's
I
so
haven't.
good.
I know. I haven't. But to me, like I watched
Okay.
Grey's Anatomy years ago, and I
Oh,
had
I've
to
seen
stop
all
watching
those.
it because it
My
was
wife watches
so.
those.
It's terrible though, and it's like
McDreamy.
I stopped watching years ago. I watched longer than I wanted to, but it was like I used to think that if I started a show, I have to finish it. Thanks to Grey's Anatomy, I no longer think that.
That's a good.
It's a
thing to
good
get
rule of
into.
But
thumb.
Yeah,
it started to be, you know, when they were getting mad at each other for not telling each other things. That was when I was like, okay, this is
Stupid.
absolutely ridiculous.
90%
And so I
of
do
these
see that.
shows. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. But I do see that a little bit in Cobra Kai, but it's done very well in a cheesy way that's still entertaining.
Right. Well, Johnny and Daniel could easily talk out their problems if they could just sit down.
But they
which
Why
do
would
at
they
the
do-
end
they
of
will. We will get to that.
Allie makes them.
Yeah. So Sam, who's dating Robbie, that's Daniel. Sam LaRusso's dating Robbie, and she's fighting what's her name? Tori, who starts dating
Tori's a crazy
Miguel.
bitch. She
Tori
needs to be
basically
in
is like a
juvie.
homeless girl who's crazy, who pulls out
It's true.
like
She
a
should be
spiky
in jail
bracelet.
for like attempted murder.
All these people should be in jail. All these people should be in jail.
there
Tori's
should have been
crazy
cops
as hell,
called
though.
a while ago, but
Oh, yeah.
somehow they're just absent.
None of
Who
these
knows
parents
how?
should have their children. Wait, are their parents dropping these kids off for karate?
I
Like,
don't
oh,
have
okay,
any
just go take
idea.
my kid into a
These-
cement truck.
Yeah,
These,
it's like, oh yeah,
they're
join the
running
karate
a
gang.
cement
Yeah,
truck at one point.
Right.
and
Oh,
they're
let me just write you a
covered in
check.
cement.
Bye.
Yeah,
he seems like a
would-
fun guy. Yeah,
whose parents don't go and watch these karate practices either. You legit, as you see in season 3, you legit have people getting the shit kicked in, and there's no parents watching their kids karate practice. Like,
Right. If my kid came home with a black eye, I'd be like, what the fuck am I paying you for? What is happening?
and then who is doing karate at 9 o'clock on like a Friday night as a teenager? Also, because you have multiple scenes where there's like one student in there, the lights are all off, and he's just kicking a punching bag.
oh yeah, it's
Because
just
the door is
Hawk going.
the door is never
ham on a-
locked.
on a bag.
In the valley
Yeah.
of Los Angeles, the door is never locked.
Yeah, in Reseda, there's just unlocked doors in this weird strip
Yeah.
mall. Like you just walk in,
And
it's like just punch some stuff.
it's just like, hold on. And so season 3 kind of brings us to the fact that now you have Kreese is like your big bad guy. He's all about war, and you kind of get backstory on Kreese, and he was
Yes,
a
you
Vietnam
get the-
veteran.
The Genesis story of Kreese.
Yeah, you get
Yeah.
Kreese's backstory, and there's a lot of
Not all of it, but a bit of it.
not all of it, but there was a lot to like, and you kind of see why he's the way he is because he was a Vietnam vet.
Right.
He kind of went through some shit. First of all, we'll kind of get to it. Things that I liked were that the callbacks to Karate Kid again. Daniel goes to Tokyo or Okinawa. I'm sorry, Okinawa, and he's kind of rekindling, and he sees Miyagi's daughter. He doesn't hook up with her, but you know,
Well,
he
because he's
goes-
married to a really cool chick who's the best person
she's
on
my
the whole
favorite
show.
character. His wife in this show is my
She's
favorite.
my
I
favorite
don't.
too.
I don't think that's Miyagi's daughter.
It's probably
No, I don't
can't-
think it was Miyagi's daughter.
You're right.
She
it's
was
not.
the.
Miyagi's
She was like the niece of
Granddaughter.
Miyagi.
somebody he was like in love with or
Miyagi's
something.
crush.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
don't. remember. I'm
Miyagi
gonna
in
be
real
honest.
life, his actual daughter in real life surprised Ralph Macchio when he was filming that beach scene where he kicks the shit out of those kids.
Yeah.
She showed up that day or something, and he posted it on Instagram, and so she surprised him because I guess he still had somewhat of a relationship with. I don't remember the actual actor's name. Miyagi.
Pat Morita.
I don't remember. His
There you
name,
go.
But
Pat.
yeah, so that
So yeah,
damn,
he
that's
got
awesome.
to have a moment. Yeah.
And yeah, so season 3 is kind of like you have 3 different does, and Johnny creates his own because he leaves Kreese at the end of season 2. They have a little fight, and he starts Eagle Fang, and
Great
that's the
name.
worst name ever.
Toughest name
Rob
ever.
and Juvie. Miguel can't walk. He's Johnny's trying to get Miguel to walk again through various hilarity. I enjoyed that because it was just kind of funny that how he was trying to go about it. And oh no, I lost like all my notes. Where'd all my notes go for this movie? They all
I
disappeared.
don't know, but can we pay a special nod to when Johnny goes to the high school? And I love that they acknowledge like, how are you in here? Because that drives me nuts on TV shows and movies. Like you have to go through, especially since that shooting at the elementary school years ago, like you can't just walk into a school. Like you
There's
have to be
metal
buzzed in. You have
detectors
to
in
have your
this
name
school.
tag. You have to have your ID scanned. And Johnny's like, I went here for years. You don't think I know how to get in here? And then as he's walking away, he knocks the kid's books down. He's like, sorry,
old
force the
habits.
habit. I think that was my
Oh,
favorite
man.
part. He
And,
just
and then
knocks
that
the
kid
shit
became
out
a
of the
student
books.
of his. You
Yeah,
noticed
did
that
he?
same kid was
He
I
a
did.
student
didn't
at Eagle
notice
Fangs.
that.
He did.
That's amazing.
I really enjoyed that Johnny had some character depth in this season because I mean, so one of the questions that we got was from Ian, and he wants to know, first of all, he asked, was the kick at the end of Karate Kid legal or not? It's always like one says illegal, one says legal. Was the kick legal or not at the end of Karate Kid that Daniel did? We need to end this right now.
Well, he says anything over
Above
what
the
the
belt.
waist above
Yes.
the belt is
Legal.
Legal.
so,
However,
but then why would Johnny
says-
say it's illegal? I don't know. I don't know the exacts on that. We need to resort to our Kempo master.
What do you say, Robbie? Was it legal?
I was never in any tournament, so I have no idea.
All
Has
right, we're
Josh
calling
been in
it
any
a-
tournaments?
It's an illegal kick. We'll call it.
I
I'm
believe
calling it
so.
illegal.
I don't know where
I
he
have no
is.
idea. I feel like if you get kicked in the face in karate, that's illegal.
Yeah, if you get kicked in the face in karate, maybe you
That's-
lost.
you're not
Like
fighting
that
right,
shouldn't have
like-
happened. You
Yeah.
deserve to lose. So
I don't know.
That just by being kicked in the face, that should settle it.
Well, the next question is also Ian. He wants to know who's the bad guy, Johnny or Daniel? And
I think they both are.
Yeah,
I was gonna
think
say,
It's the parents.
it's
well,
supposed to be.
the parents are the real
ambiguous.
bad guys, and Daniel's son can also be seen as a bad guy. Considering
Anthony?
yeah, if maybe he wasn't asking for fancy fucking breakfasts every day, then maybe Daniel wouldn't be having to beat up kids to take his anger out.
But they've done a good job of neglecting him in season 3.
Oh, he's
Oh,
not even
yeah.
around in
He-
season
like I remember like seeing him like once in season 3. I'm like, is that the same actor, or did
Yeah,
he just go through a
he's not
growth
I
around.
spurt?
googled it. I think it's the same actor because he's very thin now. He like
He-
yeah.
He's
I
not
wonder
He
if
was a
around at all.
chubby little
bullied
kid
into
in the
that,
first 2 movies.
or maybe just lost weight naturally. I don't know. Like
He's not around.
He probably got taller and lost weight. It was probably a combination of just going through puberty
Very
kind of
good.
thing.
That's true.
kids will.
But yeah, they
do-
have him in like one scene and he like forgot how to act too because he was a funny little shit in the earlier
He was. He was like,
shows.
"Can you make me these waffles?" It's like, well, damn. No
right.
wonder Daniel's out here beating kids up.
So Josh said depends on competition. Some point fighting, others are contact.
Nah. All right. So it was illegal.
Oh, he's typing more.
It's definitely a
Uh-oh.
point competition, and I mean it's contact then points. I guess. Trying to think like of the
yeah.
breakdown.
I
in
thought it
the
was like wrestling where
movie.
like you get certain points, but anyways, I enjoyed that there's this one seemed to be a little less off the rails if you just look away from the fact that the parents should all be in jail, the kids should all be in jail.
Josh
Daniel,
said if it's contact, yes.
huh? I'm still going with illegal. That's my final answer. Shit was
Or
illegal.
Johnny
Right, Neil,
Stan.
all right, Barney Stinson.
It was illegal.
Billy
And I
Zabka.
actually, fun fact, I met both of these guys at the Orlando Comic Con.
Yes, I was there
did.
too. Not with
I
you,
gotta
though,
find my
because I didn't know
picture.
who you were.
No,
then.
we had no idea who each other. We still haven't met in person. But yes, I did meet
Facts.
both these gentlemen at the Orlando Comic Con. And that said, one of the things that I took the most personal in this entire show was when the Legos were destroyed. There was a scene where Legos
When did
were
that
The
happen?
Legos
destroyed.
destroyed.
There was a scene where oh gosh, I wrote it down and now I forgot. There's a scene where I think it was Hawk or somebody makes fun of him, like Legos are stupid.
Oh
and
yeah,
smashes the Legos.
Dimitri
Dimitri
makes
had
he
Legos.
makes like a science project and brings
Yes.
it into the lunchroom.
Oh, yeah, in the cafeteria.
And
Yeah.
Hawk smashes it. I took that personally. I did.
that was like 1,000 little pieces.
I feel
I'm butchering the Star Wars quote, but yeah, you know
feel his
exactly what I'm talking about.
pain. And
Ugh.
Kreese, that dude is very much an abusive, gaslighting, PTSD fueled human being. Like
Oh, he's a lot to unpack.
he's doing like
Yes.
he should be in
Sometimes.
jail more than
Yeah.
anybody else because he's in there like beating kids up, letting kids run a fight club and talking about war.
mean,
like my dude,
yeah.
Vietnam's been done for 30 years. Seek some help.
Yeah, like where
when
have
he
you
gets
been?
off on like teenage drama. I mean, he's
He gets
literally
off on
manipulating.
teenagers punching each other in the face and
I
bleeding.
did find it interesting though, like his origin story with like was defending his girlfriend's honor. That's how he met her. Like he was very like defending of the females in
He was
his
a good
life.
guy,
And
yeah.
then you see that with Tori though. Like he helps Tori in a way that Tori genuinely needed help, even though she's belongs in juvie. She definitely belongs in juvie.
She belongs in juvie.
She's the
yes.
scariest character on the show. She will straight up murder somebody. She's the only person I feel like is
I don't
comfortable
like
with
the
murder.
actor.
That final cut, like the final fight scene with her, I was like, this woman.
She
Like,
legit
what
tries
is
to
her
kill
endgame here?
everybody. Her
Like,
endgame is it
yeah.
ends tonight. What, with murder?
That
Right,
was like
exactly.
I
And then like
cannot,
the prior season finale, she literally has the wrist with the spikes and she like puts it around her knuckles and tries to like punch Sam in the face repeatedly. Like,
Right. When you knew she was going to
what?
do that, because she was telling a story beforehand
She
of why she
was.
wears that.
A dude was trying to creep on her and he found out that that's just not decoration, basically.
Yeah. But Kim, I do want to give a nod though to how many people they were able to get back for this, and everybody
Yes.
aged so well.
Yeah,
they did a great job aging.
I didn't realize that Allie was in The Boys.
I don't know how you didn't realize that. I mean,
I
you
don't
don't
know.
fuck with the babysitter.
I don't know. Elizabeth
I
Shue.
didn't know.
She was in
Back
The
to the
Boys.
Future.
Back to the
Adventures
Future.
in Babysitting.
She was in everything.
She's in a lot of stuff.
I enjoyed her showing up. She aged well.
I enjoyed like pretty much everyone showing up. Like that's a really good point. They did a great job just bringing so many different people back from the movies that it was not like suffocating. It was just
Right.
enough.
It's
that
a
was, like,
love
nice
letter
nod.
to the source material, the way I feel.
Exactly.
They very much love what they did initially with the Karate Kid movies, and you can see that in the writers, the creators of the show. They very much loved the source material, and they do all the callbacks. They put footage in. They go back to old scenes. They really reference, and they don't do it in like a cheesy fan service way either. They really do a great job of penning a love letter, and that's what you get here. You get the best of both worlds. You get some advancement on the story, and then you also get great callbacks.
Yeah. No, I agree. They did a great job, and I like they did a lot of pop culture references. I mean, there was Game of Thrones, Doctor Who. I mean, they even mentioned the Enchanted Tiki Room from Disney.
Which
I noticed that as well.
Brings us to our other question. Dustin, who is a Hops News follower, he's been on a few times. He went to Appalachian State, and he has a really big Twitch channel, actually. Anyways, he asked, what should an 80s theme song be to a training montage in season 4?
Ooh.
That's what I was looking at when we first started talking on this subject, and I was looking at my phone. That's a hard one.
I'm going to say Beat It by Michael Jackson, because they're just over here. They're just beating the shit out of each other, and it's war. So what better to do a training montage to than Beat It by Michael Jackson?
No, I mean that's pretty appropriate. It's like almost like the entire structure of the song or the music video is like what gangs, right? It's like they're having a gang fight, and
they were in a parking garage at one point. And
like that seems very appropriate for Cobra Kai and all their factions,
right?
See, I'm the way it ended was Johnny and Daniel are kind of looking at each other and nodding, and so to me I was like, don't stop believing will be they're working together and they're like, don't stop believing.
I really
they gotta hold on to that feeling they're feeling right there where they're working together.
Yeah, that's true. Training montage, that would work.
Training montage. Oh, they did such a good job with like 80s songs and the 80s, really, just like the ballads and everything. Job. Like when you watch the movies again, like you like pick up on like the cheesy like montages and like cuts to, like the camera and everything. It's very, I mean, now it's retro. Obviously, it was appropriate back then, but they do a good job of honoring that now. But I'm trying to think of the song now, so circle back to me.
While you're thinking, I just want to point out, so at the finale we see Tori and Cobra Kai do a lot of breaking and entering and assault because they bust into Daniel LaRusso's house where Sam has So Sam and Miguel kind of get back together-ish. They smooch. Danny catches them. Sam's like, no, Dad, he's cool, basically. And so they go for a ride in Mr. Miyagi's car.
They don't even go for a ride. They literally sit in the car.
And that's not a euphemism.
Yeah. No, they do
his
go for a ride
car.
because they go down to the beach. They drive to the beach to talk to the parent. Oh, no.
Did they?
No, I'm mixing seasons now. I apologize. No, they sit in the car. You're right. Miguel sits in the car with Daniel and they kind of come to terms. And so Miguel and Sam kind of like, hey, we have to join forces. Let's get Eagle Fang and let's get Miyagi-Do on the same page to fight against Cobra Kai. And
well, I like that though. Real quick though, like Miguel and when they were talking, Daniel's like, well, Johnny did this, and Miguel's like, yeah, but Johnny said you did this.
Yeah, and so they're both the bad guys in each other's story.
Yeah, but it was the first time I felt like Daniel was really being like, okay, I did do that, but I did that because of this, but I can now finally see why.
And that goes
his
back
narrative
to
is being challenged.
Who's the villain? It's like they're both the villain in each other's story. There's no clear-cut right or wrong because they both did things that were wrong. And had they just sat down and had a fucking conversation, they probably.
And Allie makes that pretty clear.
And she does.
Yeah.
When they're at the
no. There's like, your story, there's his story, and then there's the middle ground. And so she kind of sets them straight, and that's when they really become friends. They team up at the end, which has been in the teasing. They've been teasing that for 2.5 seasons.
But Amanda is the one. She's like, oh, did these man boys? I mean, she summed up the entire thing. Did these man boys tell you about their competing dojos?
She's my favorite.
She's been amazing since the beginning. The 100%. Only time she loses her cool is when somebody fucks with one of her kids. Which is fuck with anybody's kid, and their mom is gonna.
Yeah, there's a restraining order. There is a restraining order. Kreese and her have a restraining order, and there's a scene where they're fighting for the All Valley tournament to come back because they've canceled karate in the All Valley tournament. State Farm was supposed to be a sponsor. And they've canceled all that because of the fight at the high school. And so Daniel and Johnny and Kreese, unbeknownst to one another, meet up to fight for the All Valley tournament to come back. Kreese plays into the veteran kind of. And as a current military member, you can play that card more than you probably should, and people do. I've got as many speeding tickets because of that card. And so
how fast are you driving?
Oh, I have a lead foot. I drive fast. I don't fuck around.
I would say knock on wood. I've never
and Kreese is like Kreese not a piece of shit. He's not well, he's also not a dummy. Like it's kind of
he's smart.
And he talks about that. He's like, you don't want to just fight strong, you want to fight smart. Yes. And that kind of plays along with that. Like he's very good at being manipulative and playing the system to his own ends.
Yeah.
Like he's like, oh wait, how'd you get this restraining order? Because
you hit me.
How did that happen?
Weird.
Crazy. And I'm gonna wiggle my way into this karate tournament now just by playing that veteran card.
Yeah.
Just playing to people's emotions and
they ultimately say that hey, they're like, they even say, because the whole time that we are watching, it's like nobody cares about karate like this. Like what? And even the councilwoman's like,
they're like, it's like football in Texas.
Yeah. They're like, we don't see the obsession with karate here, but whatever. We're gonna go ahead and get it going.
Also, I'm actually curious now, like, where is this? Was they're in Reseda and also Encino? But like, where is the school district?
I have no idea. It's a big school district.
I don't know.
It's just like a county. California, crazy, very large state.
I do love that when Amanda like gets whatever. I love seeing Johnny's reaction. Like when she like was like "fuck you" or whatever in the meeting, you see Johnny just smiling and laughing. But like you can tell Johnny has like a respect for her, even though he's not a fan of
there definitely is that mutual respect because she calls it how she sees it. She's very upfront and honest. Yeah.
I like how Johnny is like almost like a relic of the 80s in the sense that
he's not stuck in the 80s so hard
for like decades, and he's just babes. Like this. He is a very likable un-PC character. Like he just
very
doesn't understand anything. Like, and it's not out of like a maliciousness. It's just like almost ignorance. Like,
and you find yourself rooting for him too.
Exactly.
Like he's dumb. Yeah, all the characters in this show are dumb. They
You're
all
rooting
have
for him
like
to grow.
they all have reasons to not like them.
I like
and they
that.
all
You're
have
rooting for them to
reasons to
grow.
like them. Like Robbie said, they have like you're rooting for them to grow. And one thing, so the finale, they have the fight in the house. They pretty much Miguel.
So ridiculous.
Johnny shows up to Carmen, his boo, who's Miguel's mom, and you see Miguel bleeding. He goes down to the dojo. Him and Kreese get into a fight, and Robbie's there training. To me, I call this is a Star Wars sequel because you got the old master is training a new apprentice. So you got Johnny, who's like Obi-Wan Kenobi, who shows up to Emperor Palpatine taking Anakin under his wing. Who's Robbie, right? And then you have
All right.
that the whole thing. And then I'm calling Daniel kind of Luke Skywalker because he kind of beats Palpatine. And as the sequel movies have shown us, he doesn't actually beat Palpatine because he fucking comes back somehow. And they kind of let him live at the end. And they're basically like setting up season 4. Hey, you beat us at the tournament, then you can stay and you can do your dojo. But if we beat you, get the fuck out of here. And he calls his old wartime buddy. As you see, Kreese was forced to fight his commander and Delta Force over a pit of snakes who would never eat you, only bite you.
He wasn't forced, though. He volunteered.
He volunteered because the other guy was scared. It was all his fault they were there. And so he ends up beating him, and that's kind of where he loses humanity. He finds out his girlfriend died and that his commanding officer hid it.
Well, that's where he
him.
got Cobra Kai from.
Yes. His commanding officer kept it from him, and he goes and beats his master. And as the allies, the American forces were swooping in to save them, he's like, fuck you, die, and lets him fall to his death. And so we got a good season 4 set up.
Yeah. Is Kreese ever
That
going to
sounded
ask?
so dark for such a lighthearted show.
Is Kreese going to ever like ask, like, have you ever heard of the story of like Darth something?
Have you ever
Like,
heard the story of Darth Kreese the Wise, or his commander's name, the Wise?
Exactly.
It's not a story he would tell you. He was over there laughing as people got their asses beat and fell into a pit of snakes.
Good God.
So
Can I
overall,
say?
yes.
Yeah, I just have one last thing. I found it absolutely hilarious when they finally do sit with Allie and she sits down with both of them. And like, there's so many things like the skeleton costume, how like Daniel saw that and he was like scared again, and it was like flashbacks of getting his ass kicked. And then Allie comes in, she goes, oh, and you were wearing that ridiculous toddler skeleton PJs.
Yeah,
I thought that was amazing.
And then Tori was actually wearing a skeleton hoodie. I don't know if that was intentional or not.
I thought
it was intentional. I found it to be intentional.
It had to have been, especially because it was Christmas time.
Yes, I found it to be intentional as she pulls nunchucks and they all start fighting. And so season 4, whenever they start filming again, is going to hopefully come to a head between the 3 of them. But it's good to see Johnny and Daniel finally put their differences aside. I liked it.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they've had moments like together at the bar. I feel like Amanda needs to stay there and be like, all right, motherfuckers, you need to do this and you need to do that.
She's my favorite character, without a doubt. She's
like, just pull it out and measure them already. Jesus.
No problem. Of course, Banquet can't solve.
And also, one last point I want to make before we go is that I always feel like Robbie is the Green Power Ranger, because the Green Power Ranger, Tommy Oliver, was brainwashed by
Daniel
Rita.
Red?
Listen to me.
Sorry.
Tommy Oliver, aka Robbie, was brainwashed by Rita Repulsa, aka Kreese, to fight the good guys. And that's kind of who you see. Johnny, there are the Power Rangers, they're fighting the good. Whereas Robbie could be, who was one of the good guys, got brainwashed, and now he's not. And so that's what I'm going to leave you guys with as we wrap up.
And I will also add that Robbie, was obsessed with Power Rangers when I was younger, and I was also a Green Ranger for Halloween. So, coincidence? Just sleep on it.
I feel like I just missed the Power Ranger thing. My little brother watched it.
Oh, Power Rangers is the GOAT. I love Power Rangers so much.
No, they're not. Power Rangers are a ripoff of Ninja Turtles.
I love Ninja Turtles too. Used to play that Sega game every day.
All right, who's your favorite Ninja Turtle?
Leonardo.
Yes, that's mine.
Everyone
says Michelangelo.
I just had to go with just the first one that came to my head. And
man.
Oh no! I feel like that's like an instinctual thing. So
okay, Leo's always been my favorite.
Well,
all right, Matt, what's yours?
Mine would have been Raphael.
Oh, he's the worst one.
Damn.
I'm the worst. Anyways, next
No,
week,
you're not the worst. You're just not the best.
I'm middle. I'm very average. I hear that a lot.
That's
But
okay.
you're not the worst. I've
Anyways,
explained this before. Maybe you were too drunk when I explained it.
possibly. Next week, we have Common Law Brewing coming on. And if you stuck with this far, we are going to be talking about comic themed beers and what certain comic book characters beer would be made after them with adjuncts and things like that. And after that episode, we're going to post a poll, and whichever beer gets voted the most, they're actually going to brew. And so we have Brad, who is a really good friend of ours. He's going to come on. We're going to talk about it. As
Thanks,
always,
great beer.
Robbie, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you. And we could talk Cobra Kai some more. We're going to probably do a refresh episode before season 4 comes up. So like us, subscribe, share, search us Hops News. If you found us, share with your friends.
Good job.
Search Hops Geek News on Instagram, Geek Hops on Twitter. And that's how the podcast is going to grow. We're going to keep doing this with or without you, but we would love to have you here. That sounds so wrong. It sounds mean. I didn't mean it.
Sounds like
mean.
Mr. Rogers.
That sounds mean. I just like talking. And so share with your friends, share with somebody. Robbie, thank you again.
Share with your mom.
As always.
You got it.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. Damn.
No mercy. Before we go, we're going to dive into WandaVision real quick because it has come out and there's a lot to talk about. So we're just going to give a quick little 2 cents. We'll do this every week, and then maybe we'll do a final little recap here at the end when it's all over. But it came out. We're here. We've been starved for Marvel content for over a year, and it's finally here, and it was worth the wait. It was amazing from the get-go. They captured like all the essence of old sitcoms mixed in with like their humor, and just it was great. I fully enjoyed Paul Bettany. They kind of like just let them act, and their acting was great. And there's a lot. Oh man, there's a lot. What were you? What is your thoughts first of all before we kind of dive in?
I absolutely loved it. To see the MCU have so many corners and they can be so different and yet still be so connected. I think it's amazing. Like when we were watching it, we were maybe like 10 minutes in, and I looked at my daughter. I go, we're watching an MCU show, right? And, and she just kind of giggled a little bit because it's so unlike anything we've seen.
Yeah.
And I do want to say though, while we have been waiting for this show for like 9 months now or something like that, something ridiculous, it was supposed to come out before. Everybody is discounting Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did end their series this past summer. So I do want to give them credit. That was MCU, and we did get some MCU material.
That's fair. They get credit where credit's due.
So, but yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, I grew up not watching these old shows. Well, I did grow up watching these shows. Nick at Night used to be black and white shows. So it's like when your Nick at Night or your Nickelodeon shows were over, Snick was over, Bewitched came on. So like it wasn't Friends like it is today. So, I mean, I have watched a lot of these black and white shows like Get Smart and Bewitched and some of these other things. And so they're doing such a good job making fun of them and still keeping you on edge is like, what's going on? Because like there's always a nosy neighbor. You even see that in Married with Children, the nosy neighbor that's like part of the show that doesn't like her husband. But who is her husband? We don't know. There's a lot of theories that he might be Mephisto. I didn't mean for that to rhyme.
Yeah.
However you say his name.
The devil's in the details.
So,
that's not the only place he's at. And a little hint, hint, nudge, nudge, because they focus on the fact that they don't have kids, which could also be like, hey, we're in the 50s. Why don't you have kids yet? Kind of deal.
They ended it with she's pregnant.
Yes. So. Well, yeah. She's pregnant at the end. She's like, is this real? And I think my theory is the reason why everything's color is because she finally like, yes, it's real. And so like that's her getting a firm grasp on the reality that she's built. Whereas there's been slip ups. So I think that she's controlling. I think Vision's obviously still not alive, and that she was controlling everybody. She's locked in this own compartment that she's made up, and that when the boss, the Hearts, come over, he starts to choke, and Vision's sitting there. He looks like he can't move. He has like panic in his eyes. He can't move. So
she tells him. Her.
And then you have the wife who's stop it, joking around like she's a broken character in a video game. And so finally she kind of breaks it and she's like, Vision, help him. And so he helps him. And I think that was kind of like the reality breaking a little bit there. And then you see in the second episode, the sword helicopter crashes. It's a toy in that universe. My theory there is that Sword is the one who's on the radio, because you hear Wanda, who's doing this to you, Wanda. I think that Sword, which is, you kind of see Nick Fury starting to build at the end of Captain Marvel, I think it was. And so I think they're trying to get to Wanda because she's locked in this compartment in her brain. And so the girl who in the talent show, the African American lady who shows up, that's Maria, Captain Marvel's best friend's daughter, who has powers Lieutenant in the Trouble. Comics. Yeah. Well, I think she crashed into this, trying to break into this universe, and she's now a part, like being controlled because of the powers. And the helicopter was a real helicopter, but now it comes across as a toy. And so that's kind
of. You think it's a coincidence that it's Iron Man colors? Because that was the first thing I felt like this thing's going to say Stark.
I noticed that too, and I think it is because you see the commercials that play. That, like, the first one was a Stark toaster, and it starts beeping really fast. That's probably a nod to the Stark bomb that killed her family. I think these people who are doing the commercials are her parents. And then you see in the second one, Strucker Watch or whatever. Oh. He's the guy who was torturing her. Yeah. Strucker was the guy who was torturing Quicksilver and Wanda. And so, like,
in Ultron,
this is kind of her brain, dealing with the trauma. And then, of course, like, you kind of see some of the people, they know that something's wrong, that they shouldn't be here. And then she snaps back and she gets control again. And so I think her having a baby, Vision, like, yes, this is real. I think the colors appearing at the end are her having that firm grasp, and that Mephisto is probably the ultimate bad guy, because in the comics, he has a very high interest in her children because they are all powerful. And so I think
they're part of his soul.
Yeah, he's like the devil in the end, Marvel, with not, they don't call him the devil, obviously, but
Diablo.
He's basically like the devil. And so he has a very high interest in Wanda's kids. So what I think is going to happen is she's going to have kids at the end. Mephisto is going to take those children. And so I think in Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, everything's going to be so jacked up. She's going to be on a rampage trying to get her children. Doctor Strange is going to have to spend the first half of the movie trying to calm her down, get her back on the side, and maybe go from there.
If the kids are even real, though, because I dove into the history of it, because I didn't know the history, and it's like, I guess she created the kids from pieces of Mephisto's soul, and so the kids aren't actually real. And like, the nanny would notice whenever Wanda and Vision would leave to go fight, the kids would disappear because Wanda couldn't focus her energy on them and on, like, fighting at the same time. Yeah. So then there was speculation the kids weren't real, but then they made the kids real in a comic later. It's twins. It's two boys.
Yep.
And we've already seen in the commercials that it's twins as well. But they've also said that they're going to be moving through the decades, and we've seen that where we're going to get the 80s. So I thought maybe the color was them just progressing through the shows. And I also thought, I this could be completely wrong, but the fact that when Vision died, he went like black and white. Yep, so maybe him coming to color is her fully bringing him back.
Maybe.
And
that's
also,
a good theory.
Paul Bettany has said, because somebody asked him in an interview, like, what happened to Vision's body? Because even if Vision's dead, he's still made of some pretty expensive, fancy parts.
Right.
And Paul Bettany said, well, I know where Vision's body is, and you guys will find out. So
they must be bringing him back to life, which he's a robot. They could do. Because I think in the comics, they find a way to bring him back without the stone. So it's pretty interesting. I think, they are progressing through the decades, and I think the way they're gonna, my own personal is that she's got a firmer grasp on the reality, and that's why everything's color, and that's how they're gonna progress. But who knows?
Well, and there's theories that because Wanda was snapped, and for anybody who's read I read the Infinity War comics before the movie came out, and they have the whole soul world there, which we saw the soul world in Infinity Wars and Endgame, but that she could be in the soul world and manipulating it to her, for herself. But who knows? There's a lot of theories.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories. We're along for the ride. And a good explanation, if you kind of want to see if they're going towards the House of M, which they could absolutely do without mutants, is check out Comics
Yeah.
Explained. He has a couple parts on this, and it's a really good dive in deep. And also, Paul Bettany is the first Marvel actor to have been in the MCU for 3 decades. So you have Jarvis in 2008, and then you have the 2010 to 2000, now 2021 with WandaVision. So he's been in 3 different
Wow.
decades of the MCU, and he's the only one who have done that. So that's incredible.
I was actually wondering that the other day because they say Chris Evans has been in the most movies because of his little cameos. And I was starting to think about Paul Bettany, but you usually never see him without Iron Man or hear him
Just
without
the
Iron Man.
voice,
But now
which
you do.
it's
Yeah.
crazy to think that there was a time when they were like, he was, had just got told that he was done in Hollywood essentially. And he went and sat down, and then Joss Whedon called him and was like, hey, do you want to play Vision in Ultron? And then that's kind of what spurred it again. So I've seen him in a ton of movies, like A Knight's Tale, things like that. I had no idea that this man's career was about to be over. And then the MCU came along. So really
I
great.
didn't
Feel
know
good.
either. And he's married to the woman from the Labyrinth, isn't he?
Yes.
I believe that's his wife. Yeah.
I think so. I think you're right. He's
But
married.
you
I
never
can't
really
remember.
see her anymore.
No, she's just kind of off. Anyways, we'll talk some
Stuck in the
more
labyrinth.
next week. Next episode, we have Brad from Common
the
Law
beekeeper.
Brewing. Oh,
sorry, real quick.
Sorry, we forgot to talk about the beekeeper.
So the beekeeper, I didn't know what that was, but apparently the beekeeper, so AIM from Iron Man 3 with Aldrin Killian.
Yeah.
So the AIM characters in the comics, their outfits look like beekeepers.
Oh.
So yeah, but she's like, I don't like that. Okay, so now we're done. We'll see you all next week.
Now you're gonna get me started. We'll see you guys next week.
I know.
Brad from Common Law. We're gonna come on. If you want stickers, hit us up. We'll send you stickers. We got some merch coming down the pipe. And enjoy, everybody. Cheers. Enjoy the week. And we'll talk to you next time.
Make good choices. Cheers.
Yes.
This has been a Hops News production. You can find Hops News on all your favorite podcasts and social media platforms at Hops News. Cheers.